Another week at the box office means another week with the box office buds. Welcome back to another amazing episode. Joined to my right is the wonderful Kellerman. To my left, filling in for Tony Squares. We wish him well. He's not here this episode. Is producer Jones. How you doing, baby? Welcome back.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are thrilled to have you. By the way, you're looking extraordinarily jacked these days.
You know, I got some sun back in North Carolina.
Yeah, I got a little tan going.
And I just figured if there's any time to wear a tank top, it'd be in August with a tan and
on camera.
Yeah, and on
Definitely on camera. We need those views. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, keep rocking, bro.
It's been an interesting week at the box office, folks. Some movies are not doing as well as they should be doing. Some movies are doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
For the budget that they were on. Fantastic Four still maintained in its second week the number one spot at the box office.
Number one, baby.
With 40 million domestic. However, that is a 66% drop. Folks.
Big drop off.
66%
Big drop.
drop.
Did kids go back to school or something already?
No, they did not. What do you think is the cause of this? We're going to start there before we even go into number two. What do you think is the cause of Fantastic Four and their worrisome drop?
I think just fewer people went to the movies this weekend, or that the money was spread out more evenly amongst all the movies that came out.
This is true. Naked Gun came out. Together came out. Bad Guys 2 came out. All in a span of a weekend, and they all did pretty well. Number two, Bad Guys 2, $22.2 million domestically. Another 28 in the international box office. Pretty solid start for Bad Guys 2.
Okay. But when we were in the drafting phase, though, it seemed like everybody thought that was going to be $1 billion banger, and it is not.
Nobody thought
we
that.
were discussing that the first one made over 200 million, so it seemed like a nice little fourth or fifth round. If you will.
Everybody was like, and that was during the pandemic, so this one's going to do bonkers numbers.
And it's a nice little cushion of a movie, but it's not going to give you bonkers numbers. No.
Not with a $22 million opening.
It's not bad. It's going to make $200 million. Naked Gun coming in at 3 at $17 million, 28 globally on a $40 million budget. How we feeling about Naked Gun?
A pretty good opening, all things considered, for a comedy post-COVID. I think it will have really good word of mouth, so it should have some shelf life. As y'all discussed last week, spoof comedies have a long history in Hollywood, and we have some coming down the pike already. So hopefully it makes enough money to continue to keep the trend going. And, we see these bigger budget gambles with Marvel and such not quite paying off as well. So maybe, things will kind of go back to how they used to be, where you sprinkle a little bit over lots of little projects versus putting all your chips in on these big properties. And that would encourage comedies to have a bit of a resurgence.
It's been it asks a very big question this week, because you have Naked Gun making a decent amount of money on a $40 million budget, clearly going to make its money back and then some. And you have Marvel shaking in their boots over there with $40 million.
I don't think they're feeling it as hard as everybody's making it out to be.
$40 million in week 2 is crazy. It's crazy.
It's not great.
66% drop is truly. We need to talk about this a lot more. You have to be worried if this keeps going in this way. We're looking at maybe making $500 million.
Yeah, but as we've talked about on previous episodes, box office in general has been down all year. The fact that it had such a huge weekend was already such a good surprise for Marvel. And now, sure, everybody's focusing on the drop-off, but it was still number one at the box office.
Yes.
Which means that of all the people who went to see a movie, Fantastic Four was the top choice.
But the box office as a whole was still quite close to what it normally is. You still had $10 million together, and you still had $17 million at Superman. So it was just spread very evenly. But when Superman came out in week 2, it was still bustling along. Right now it's at 551 globally in week 4. And, and
I think Fantastic Four
is at less than half of that.
Follow in its steps, though. Superman's been out 2 weeks longer than Fantastic Four, so it's got time to get there.
TJ, am I crazy for thinking that this is something to be very, very worried about if you're Marvel going forward?
It's just going to change the math, right? Because they could really bank on these movies making a certain amount of money that way that influenced how they made the movie, the money they spent on them. So it's just going to change that. The comic book movies will never go away. I think they're learning a lesson that oversaturation is not a good thing. Scarcity and demand makes things more popular, and I think that
they're definitely pulling way back in the next year.
And the thing that surprised me most about what they've done recently is their inability to thread the plot from movie to movie. You know, and I think
which wasn't always the case.
Right, and
can you explain that a bit more from what movie to what movie specifically?
Well, they used to have a really good track record of making stingers, and particularly that got you really excited for what's coming next and teasing stuff. And then somewhere along the line, they just started like throwing these Hail Mary stingers. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness comes to mind, where Charlize Theron just pops up.
They always started introducing characters and like
cool, but also okay. Will we ever see her again? What? Obviously, the Harry Styles one is like iconic now. Will we ever see him again? I don't know.
No, they said no. They said we will not see Harry Styles.
It was nice to see him, though. I'll tell you that.
But even in this current run, it's like the most offended I felt in movie theater in quite a while, and I don't really ever feel offended, is the stinger at the end of Captain America. It was so dumb, and it was just right in front of a green screen, and it was terrible, and it was nothing new, nothing. It's like, how do you not just give us some catnip of something to get us juiced up for the next one? And then the one they did for Thunderbolts was cool, but then it didn't even actually tie into Fantastic Four, which, okay, but like we want to feel the story evolving and connecting. And then again, this is real spoilers, but Fantastic Four, we can't have Robert Downey just like look in the camera for a beat. We just have to have the kind of generic over the shoulder shot. Like we're setting up the next Avengers movie. Like give us something. Like it's just crazy they don't realize.
Well, they don't have it as planned out, obviously.
Do you think that it also has something to do? I mean, obviously we are in phase 6 now of Marvel. Do you think it has something to do with the fact that like we are now not introducing characters as much, and if we are, they're not the characters that everyone is like, oh my god, it's Thor. They're like, Dr. Doom's here, you know.
That's
like
true.
It's a little different of the excitement in terms of where we're going, and like we keep talking about the fact that origin stories are starting to be like changed and no longer like a part of what we're watching in these movies, which is ultimately a good thing. But we're not seeing the beginnings of everything anymore, and I almost wonder if beginnings are what people get most excited about.
I think it's a fair statement, and I think that a story like Fantastic Four really gambled hard on the fact that we would know the characters well enough through previous entries that we could just jump right into the story. I personally felt like it was a shade under 2 hours, which I love a movie under 2 hours. I could have used 10 or 15 more minutes of character building because I felt it got to the place where they were just trying to make it so quippy and rushed and quick and momentous. And that leads to a good time in the movies, but it doesn't necessarily get you invested to come back for more stories as a general audience goer.
But it is interesting, though, because Superman was so great, and Fantastic Four I thought was even better. And I thought word of mouth would spread this in a way that makes people super pumped to go see Fantastic Four, and leading to the new Avengers. And none of this is really culminating.
Yeah, I don't. I'm pressed for an explanation. Honestly, I also just rewatched Thunderbolts before going to see Fantastic Four. That movie was so good. That was a good Marvel movie, and it just did not perform at the theater. It wasn't like Captain America, which was sort of a uneven movie. It was good. and I didn't hear anybody dislike it, and it still just did it super underperformed. Fantastic Four, I wouldn't say it's underperforming yet, even with this big drop off, but
the appetite for the hoods and capes, I think are starting to
the casual fan is less and less interested.
Quite dissipate.
You're always going to have your hardcore folks, but
yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see where Fantastic Four ends up. Are they going to start doing like small projects that can recoup money in our league? If you guys are listening and watching for the first time, thank you so much. We're very excited to have you. Welcome to the Box Office Buzz. Like, subscribe, do all the things. We are in a fantasy box office league, folks. We are bunch of nerds in a fantasy box office league. We draft 5 movies at the beginning of the year. Each one is tied to the box office for said movie. The person with the largest box office at the end of the year wins the league. Tony Squares no longer here, sitting at first place with one. R.I.P. Tony. We wish you well, but no longer a part of the podcast.
He's still in first.
Yeah, he's still in first, unfortunately, because of the drop off of Fantastic Four.
He's at 1 point. But I will.
You will. You got to catch. I mean, you will for sure. Someone is going to catch him. For God's sake, someone's going to catch this man. He's got $1.7 billion at the moment. Kellerman bringing up just behind at 1.55. Can Fantastic Four continue on? We shall see. Dangles at 1.52, trickling along. He does not have a movie coming out. He's pretty much done, so I don't know what's going to really happen for him. Jones, on the back of Jurassic World. We haven't talked about Jurassic World a lot because none of us liked the movie.
I liked it, for the record.
Okay, Jones liked the movie. TJ liked the movie. Sitting at $1.34 billion on the back of Jurassic World. Trickling along. What are we at? Like 746 at the moment?
I think it's around 776.
Amazing.
Yeah,
776. That's correct.
One of the things I banked on was international appeal. I just think the Jurassic brand travels, and there is not a Jurassic movie. There's not 3 Jurassic movies a year like there is Marvel.
Right.
So even though there
aren't
one,
even any other dinosaur movies, as I mentioned.
And so I just figured, even though there was one fairly recently, I just figured that the appetite would still be there in the middle of the summer. And it looks like currently it's going to win the year in terms of adult live action fare, and that's pretty exciting.
I think so.
We're only halfway through.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else is going to compete with it. I mean, Superman is definitely not making it. I am just behind producer TJ at $1.32 billion at the moment. Superman's still in box office, sitting at $551 at the moment. F1 trickling along, and they are about to hit their weekend of going back to the IMAX, which is very exciting. Hopefully, I'll cash in another like 5 to 10 million.
I can't wait to see it.
They're trying to hit that $600 million, I think, and then they're going to bounce. But Superman... very nervous. Is it going to hit $700 million? I don't know. Certainly not 800 at the moment. It's going to be very interesting to see. I have Freakier Friday still on the horizon. What else do you have, TJ?
I still have Running Man coming in the fall, which the trailers we've all been
looks
seeing.
awesome.
Looks like awesome. A lot of fun. Glenn Powell's a bankable star. So hopefully that'll give me a nice little something. And that's pretty much it. I just have to hope that I know he did last summer, holds on to the indie category for me to have a shot. I don't think it will, but we'll see.
It ain't happening. We have a 6th movie. It's an indie category, basically. You hit $150 million, you no longer are eligible for that indie category. Your movie has to have made under $150 million, and you get a $500 million bonus. That's a copywritten item for the box office butts. But we have Ben and Henry, who has just entered into the fray with Bad Guys 2.
He's here.
Henry's here at $131 million. Ben, basically, his slate is absurd at $434 million. He's just praying that Avatar makes $1 billion.
And it could.
In December.
It could. And as far as Henry goes, again, I feel like you guys all hyped up Bad Guys 2 to be like some big entry for Henry.
I feel like that's in your head, Kellerman. Nobody hyped it up. We all said 200 to 250 million.
Let me know in the comments if I just totally made that up.
Zootopia is the one, the animated one that we have, I think, appropriately hyped up. I mean,
But I want to dive into Naked Gun. I did not get a chance to see Naked Gun. I am so excited to see it. $17 million domestically, $28 million total for the opening weekend on a $40 million budget. It was a gamble. It was a big gamble bringing this back. Seth MacFarlane, I heard him on a fellow movie podcast called The Town. Really great podcast. Highly recommend it. Seth MacFarlane talked about the gamble that they were all taking on this podcast, but he stood by it and believed fully that it was not a gamble in terms of content. What did you guys think how this movie, how did it hit you? Were there some big laughs? We're probably going to get a little spoiler heavy here. I'm okay with it. I will deal with it. But Kellerman, let's start with you.
Don't start with me.
TJ, let's start with you.
I had a great time in the movies. We went with a crowd. We were with a crowd that was very lively and energetic, which I think you all talked about last week, the value of how comedies play in theaters, how really something can feel like a communal experience where everyone is connected with the laughs. I thought it was really, really solid. I thought Pam Anderson was one of the highlights. I thought she was like,
love to hear that.
So fun. I think I'm a little lower on it in general than most folks.
Are you a slapstick guy? You weren't in last episode when we kind of gave our origins. Yeah,
that's true. Do you like the original Naked Gun movies?
Yeah. Naked Gun is like Bible and verse with me and my father.
Okay,
like
same.
My dad, like, that is our thing. Going to see these movies. If we're ever on vacation together, we fire up and try and find like. Any number of the spoofs that he's done, Wrongfully Accused, all these great movies, because not even just the Naked Guns, but all of them that he's in are great. But my biggest takeaway was I thought Liam Neeson was miscast, and I think that he has a comedic energy. Like he's undoubtedly has good comic timing, but I think there's a certain essence to the way he approached the role, especially. It's the worst American accent of all time. It's just like the accent comes and goes, and he's supposed to be like American Pie, like son of Leslie Nielsen, and it just felt weird having this clearly British, Scottish. Sorry,
UK.
European actor who just
pretty sure he's Irish.
The delivery kind of gets drawn out in this way. He's trying to do the American accent that just I feel kind of like lessens the comedic impact, and I just wasn't really feeling him as Frank Drebin. I think you need more of kind of a brief throwaway a line type of actor. So I didn't love him, but my major issue with the film was the way it was shot.
Oh.
It just it was over edited. It was too many close-ups. It just didn't have the kind of like laid back and let the jokes function feel. And when they go into certain bits that have like stylized elements, that's fine. But it felt like they were trying to make it feel like a spoof on like an action movie versus just like doing a spoof movie. So it's just constantly in close, lots of cuts, and I think it took away from some of the comedy. I think of a movie like MacGruber, which is also in the same vein, but that's clearly spoofing action movies. So that kind of kinetic, style I think works. The Naked Gun is just like, give me a medium shot, give me a 2-shot, let these guys let the jokes land. But when you're cutting all over the place, it just felt like the visual style did not match the jokes, and for me that hurt the movie.
That's interesting. I do think some of the magic of the OG sort of spoofs, especially Naked Gun, especially the Mel Brooks movies, is that medium to wide shot and kind of letting them walk across an entire landscape and really play sight gags and have a lot of physical comedy moments. So tight shots to me is a little antithetical to that sort of milieu, but that's interesting that you found Liam Neeson specifically to not be that, especially this week when he had an interview where he's like, I'm 73 years old, don't tell me how to act. Did you see that, guys? It's hilarious.
I missed
Check it
that.
out.
Sounds about right.
But that's surprising to me. I will say, as somebody who was very excited for this movie, I was nervous for Liam Neeson to take this role because I know he's funny in moments when he's like, doing sketches or random things like that. But to carry a comedy, I never thought was something that I was super pumped on. So I'm very hesitant and nervous now to see this, though I am obviously going to see it. I will say, people who were super excited about this movie, celebrities, comedians, all these people on social media have come out. Seth Rogen, Seth MacFarlane, obviously, was a producer on the movie. A lot of people in my sort of feed. You have Matt Rife coming out and being like, you got to go see this movie. Everyone from like the Matt Rifes of the world to like the Mark Marons of the world, like trying to save the comedy box office experience. Kellerman, did you think that they succeeded in doing so, not just with getting the box office returns, but in terms of a product that will bring people back to the box office?
I heard a lot of buzz, and for what it's worth, I really liked the movie a lot. I thought it was really funny and it had a lot of laugh out loud moments. Will it reinvigorate comedy movies in the theater? I don't know. Something that was interesting was, usually before a movie, they show trailers that are in the same genre of the movie. And all the trailers were like semi-comedic dramas or action movies. There were no trailers for any other comedy movies because there aren't any others coming out. And it felt like a breath of fresh air on the one hand. And on the other hand, it's the Naked Gun. So it felt kind of like a stuffy, musty, old style breath of fresh air. So, while I liked a lot of the jokes, I wasn't bothered too much by the editing. I thought Liam Neeson was very appropriately cast because, in my opinion, what made Leslie Nielsen so perfect in the original was how serious he is and how he's sort of the straight man and everything around him is kind of wacky. And I thought Liam Neeson was right for that. What made it feel weird was that Liam Neeson himself was a little extra wacky.
He gets wacky, and it's not like the original performance of Frank Drebin.
Exactly. And he doesn't play it quite as seriously. Pamela Anderson was incredible. I don't think I've seen her be this good in a movie, actually.
She just she was almost nominated for an Oscar last year. She was fantastic in The Last Showgirl.
I missed that one.
Highly recommend that. She's having a resurgence here and doing what she wants, which I really appreciate.
But there was no supporting cast of young actors. There was, the old ones, even though Frank Drebin and his partner were, Ed, were like pretty old, obviously. There were plenty of like young females. There were plenty of, O.J. Simpson was in the department, all this stuff.
Yeah.
That was entirely missing from this.
Well, they had Paul Walter Hauser, which is the closest they got.
He didn't feel young to me.
I mean, I would argue if you go watch the old ones, OJ doesn't necessarily feel young. But Paul Walter Hauser to me is like, was pretty wasted in the movie. I think he is so funny.
He's so funny.
He was so charismatic. And it just...
he had some good moments.
I don't know. I just felt like he wasn't able to kind of like flex his whatever appropriate level he could have played in that movie. I did not think it was executed in a way that was kind to him. And also just a quick notice, like this was a $40 million budget. It's like, couldn't it have been like a 30 million, 25 million? And that would have helped the margins. Cause like there's elements in it. They have like a few different like CG heavy sequences. And it's just like, man, the practical effects is what make these good movies.
Totally agree.
Just dumb it, like simplify it. Make it less showy, but they have a couple sequences, especially towards the end, that really try and like give you like an action set piece with CG and stuff, and like that just doesn't feel like Naked Gun to me.
It's almost like they don't. It's almost like they don't trust that the classic use of whatever comedic tactics like are going to work, and they have to put a hat on a hat. That's super interesting.
Well, the original Naked Gun did a lot of parodying very specific classic tropes of detective stories and things of that nature. This felt a little bit more like a parody of The Naked Gun. So it didn't have a specific anything.
You are not inspiring me to see this movie.
No, it's funny. I laughed quite a bit.
It is funny, but I agree with myself from last week. Good. When I said...
That's not surprising.
When I said...
Some real Tony energy on the podcast today.
Comedy movies... I could have gotten the same experience at home. I mean, someone disagreed with me when I said that because they talked about the communal laughter and all that stuff. But this one in particular, I just felt like I would have found equally as funny.
I had a great time with the theater packed full of people. And it was a dine-in theater where everyone's pretty lounged out. And we had a great time with folks laughing.
I'm still very excited to see this. All right, if you had to give it a score and if you had to like match it up against the OGs, is it even close?
I didn't feel the same way about it as I did about the OGs, but, I'd give it 7 out of 10 Neesons. Neesons or Nielsen's.
I don't know which one is good or bad.
Because that's the current.
Yeah.
I give it 7 out of 10 Neesons.
7 out of 10 Neesons. That's worth seeing.
I'll give it 6 out of 10 Hausers.
All right. Apparently you're wanting more Hauser, is what you're saying.
I love him.
I know.
So funny.
He's fantastic.
So talented.
I'm very excited to hear that this movie is doing well in the box office. It's going to make its money. I hope that something to the effect of, $100 million tells studios like, this is something that we can do if it's good and if there's an appetite for it. And, original content would be preferred for me, but I'm very excited to see if we can get some more comedies in the box office. On a totally other note, Together also came out this week. $10 million in the box office, not in the top 5, but a really strong showing for an A24 indie horror movie. Alison Brie and the wonderful Dave Franco. You all know that I am not a huge fan of this actor, but I am going to see this movie, much to my confusing way of saying it last episode. But it looks really good. It's getting a ton of great reviews, a ton of great press. You both saw it. I would love to hear first, body horror-wise, how intense are we talking?
It's intense.
It's intense.
Hell yeah. All right.
There's stuff I've never seen before.
Sure.
And I just want a quick PSA. Don't watch trailers. Just don't watch them. Maybe watch the first teaser just to get like a little bit of taste. But I recently I didn't watch any of the Fantastic Four trailers past the first teaser. Wow. I didn't watch a single trailer for Together, a single one.
Wow.
So I didn't have any, I saw some promotional photos ever. So there's stuff in there that I'm sure was in the trailer that to at least some extent. I didn't see any of it. And my goodness gracious, I again saw it in a packed theater on an opening weekend. And it had a couple extra days in the box office. It was a 5-day total. That's why at 10 million it wasn't in the top 5. But still a great number. And the theater I was in was laughing, was shouting, was screaming. There is really good comedy in it, I think.
Yeah.
I contend that there's no better movie experience in a theater than a horror movie with comedy.
I completely agree.
It was just so freaking fun. It was so damn fun.
I completely agree because you're kind of feeling the full scope of emotion and your body's kind of uncomfortable.
And the comedy helps you get out of the tenseness because there are some legitimate great scares.
Hell yeah.
In this movie. And then there's some really funny jokes as well.
I love to hear that. Kellerman, do you feel the same way?
I did. I actually I think that this is probably my favorite horror movie of the year.
Nice.
This
Wow.
one has some really arresting imagery.
More than Sinners?
Oh yeah.
More than I know
More
we did
than
last summer.
Sinners!
Scarier than Sinners.
That's for sure.
Maybe not a better movie than Sinners.
Okay.
But scarier than Sinners. Way scarier.
Just put you in the horror
I
place.
watch a lot of horror movies, so not a lot of things in the theater gross me out or like startle me too badly. And this one had some really scary moments and some really disgusting moments in the best kind of way.
It felt purposeful?
It felt purposeful. It felt tight. It felt like a solid length movie. It moved. It was interesting. It had the plot twist I sort of guessed was super early, but also
I didn't think I heard it. I thought it was just,
the larger
organic.
story
Yeah.
made it make sense. It just really tied it all together ultimately. And I know you're not a huge Dave Franco fan, but I thought he was fantastic.
I love to hear
as
that.
was Alison Brie. I thought they were both great. And it's, as we've talked about previously, it's really hard to play like super on edge for a long movie, because to get into that as an actor
Very
over
hard.
and over again every day, and they just,
Very-
boy, is it tense.
Very physical performances too.
Extremely
Because there are some
physical
sequences
performances.
that seemed like they really had to do some interesting acrobatics to achieve.
Yeah,
Alison
and this
Brie is
one-
an incredible physical actress. I'm glad to hear Dave Franco can match her.
Yeah, great match. They had chemistry, and unlike the way I felt about Naked Gun, even though it was a comedy with the communal laughter and all that, this one I felt was a theater movie. This one was people screaming and closing their eyes and just gross out, but also laughing. Like it had some really funny moments, and gosh, I left together feeling like that was awesome.
Wow. That is huge.
It gave me that feeling I chase in
Yeah,
theaters.
totally.
And I walked out. It's definitely one of my most memorable theater experiences of the year. One of the best movies of the year, I think. And I think it's so cool too that like Alison Brie and Dave Franco have chosen this path to like.
Yeah.
I mean, Alison Brie is like damn near an A-lister, and she could be doing anything. She could be in Marvel movies or whatever the hell. And the fact that she's just like, you know what, I'm gonna like do these like grimy indie horror movies with my husband and
Super cool.
She just, I think it was in Deadline today. Her directorial debut is a horror movie. I'm sure it's fairly low budget, I'd imagine as well, that she's going to direct that she co-wrote. So the fact that they're just like doing this genre stuff in a world where so many folks go for that big paycheck, I think is so cool.
I think Alison Brie is in an interesting spot in her career where we're about to see her like really get to that like, holy crap, she can do things that we didn't really know she's capable of.
Well, if you're that big of a fan,
I
you're
am.
going to enjoy it together.
Yeah,
Because it is quite the tour de force for her.
Love to
Really
hear that.
good.
And
Love to-
yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Go see it and have a blast in the movies.
Well, I think that is it for the first episode of This Week on the Box Office Buds.
Good job, Cheese.
Hey,
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
nice work.
A lot more coming up the rest of the week. Freakier Friday, baby, is coming. That is my movie. And we're going to talk about, it's the summer of like the double movie. Julia Garner in Weapons comes out as well. The highly anticipated Weapons. A lot more to discuss this week on the Box Office Buds. Stay tuned.